Welcome to Beatsource Tech. My name is Mojaxx and today we're talking about products which are not necessarily very exciting but which are essential in the lives of many DJs. We're talking about the latest in laptop stand technology from Odyssey, USA. The first thing I need to do in this video is give props to Reloop for the stand hub. That pioneered the idea of having a DJ laptop stand which had a built-in USB hub with power delivery and is still a product I very much recommend. I'll link to my review of that above and in the description below. It seems like that has kicked off something of a trend in the industry. As well as the two Odyssey products I'm reviewing today, I've also just received the Headliner Giga stand which I'll be looking at soon. You may be wondering why these products are needed. Well, on the Mac side of things and also on some current Ultrabook style Windows machines, USB ports can be fairly limited. Take for example the current 13-inch MacBook Pro. That features just two Thunderbolt ports, but one of them is taken up by the charger, so you've effectively got only one port free. The MacBook Air is actually better with a MagSafe port for charging plus a pair of Thunderbolt ports, but it's not as powerful. There's also the factor that the internal storage on Macs is not upgradable after purchase these days, so if you run out of space, you'll need to use an external drive taking up another port. Use CDJs or Denon players in HID mode, 3 ports are needed. Serato DVS with phase, 2 ports. And yes, some mixers like the Range 72 and Pioneer DJ S11 do feature built-in hubs, but they definitely aren't the most commonly found mixers out in the wild. So yeah, lots of DJs need hubs these days. Okay Mojaxx, just go pick up a regular USB hub from Amazon or somewhere, right? Well, that is an option, but the issue is that most of those hubs I've seen with power delivery usually feature a fairly short, permanently fixed USB cable, which is fine if your laptop is on a desk, but when raised up on a DJ laptop stand, it dangles, putting quite a lot of stress on the port it's plugged into. Enter the DJ laptop stand with built-in hub. In this case, the Odyssey Smart Laptop Stand with high-speed 3.2 media hub, or possibly the L-Stand 360ph, I'm not quite sure. They really do need to clarify their product naming, in my opinion. In terms of cost, it has a street price of around $200 in the US, which is the same as the Reloop. Let's talk about the stand itself first. It's a beefy boy made of heavy-duty steel and weighed in at 4 pounds 4 ounces on my kitchen scales. It's a fixed height design, standing around 12 inches tall, but can be set up in a Z shape if you want to go lower. Everything is welded or bolted in place, and the whole thing feels incredibly sturdy, plus there's minimal wobble when you use your keyboard or trackpad. It is a tank. Adjustment is done with bike-style quick-release levers on the left-hand side, which has positives and negatives to it. On the downside, they can take a few seconds to adjust and get the tension correct, but that system also means that you effectively have infinite angle adjustment potential. Systems which click into place are faster, but more restrictive as to what angles you can choose. Something which surprised me was that the two legs on the base are adjustable independently of each other. I expected them to be linked, but in use this actually works very well. It's simple to level the stand on a flat surface, but there is potential for solidly placing it onto uneven surfaces too. The legs themselves are very low profile, which means they will slide under most gear without too much trouble, and they're spaced quite closely together, meaning that the stand doesn't have a huge footprint compared to some others. The Smart Stand comes with a bunch of rubbery caps to protect your gear which go onto the top platform and those feet. They do a good job, although I might suggest you put a dab of glue onto them when fitting, as I can see them coming off and getting lost quite easily, as they used to do on crane stands. The raised tabs themselves are tall enough to inspire confidence that your laptop will never slide off the front, even at more extreme angles, which I like to see. The top platform is a very healthy size, easily big enough to accommodate a 16-inch MacBook Pro safely, and it has a very open frame design to allow for plenty of airflow. I have no complaints there. The whole thing folds down completely flat, and Odyssey include a carrying pouch for storage and transport, as well as a USB-C to C cable for power delivery. On that note, let's talk about the hub element. Firstly, it supports 60-watt power delivery, so you plug in your laptop power supply to the bottom port, and that will power your laptop and any peripherals you have connected to the hub. The USB-C port at the top then passes out to your laptop itself. With Macs which require 100-watt chargers like my 16-inch Pro, there isn't enough power to charge the laptop at full speed, but it does trickle charge and keep it going just fine. In the middle are 3 USB ports, a pair of USB-A's and a single USB-C. Those work great and do their job just fine, but at this point I have to talk about the incredibly stupid naming of USB standards today. You might see the term USB 3.2 as Odyssey use and think that it means 10 gigabits per second speed, but that's not the case. What we're looking at here is what's known as USB 3.2 Gen 1 X1. I told you it was stupid. What that boils down to is that all 3 ports have a maximum theoretical throughput of 5 gigabits per second, which in real-world terms means around 480 megabits per second. I tested the stand with a Samsung T7 drive and a CF Express card reader, both of which support 10 gigabits per second, and both maxed out at under 500 megabits per second. Is this a problem for DJing? Absolutely not. There are no circumstances where you'll need to exceed that speed, even when performing with music videos or lossless music, and there's no DJ hardware on the market which needs it. But it's worth being aware of just in case you're tempted to use the stand when, say, video editing or something like that. There are 2 other ports. Firstly, an SD card slot, which is a bit of a weird choice. It works well enough and supports both full-size and micro SD cards, but I'm just not sure how many DJs will get use out of it. I'd have found an Ethernet port to be a more useful addition personally. And there's an HDMI port which can support up to 4K resolution at 30Hz. I don't have a 4K monitor to test that with, but I did connect it to a 1080p monitor on my MacBook Pro and got 60Hz on that without issue. The Mac connected to it with no fuss. That was the only part of the hub which didn't work with my XMG Windows laptop, and I suspect that's because that machine isn't configured to allow HDMI connections via the USB-C port. It has a dedicated one for HDMI. So your mileage may vary on Windows computers, but it should work great on any modern Mac if you need an extra display output for visuals. One side note on the supplied USB cable, it's a bit longer than the one which Reloop included with the stand hub, which meant it did reach the USB-C port on the left-hand side of my XMG laptop. Overall, the Smart Stand is an impressive piece of kit. It's priced in line with the competition, has endless adjustment potential, and feels incredibly solid in use. The only real downside is the weight, but Odyssey have another product in their line for those who want something less chunky. And that's where we get into the L-Stand Ultra 360. I reviewed it around 2.5 years ago and had already been using it for some time at that point. Again, I'll link to that review above and in the description. Since then, it's been my favourite laptop stand to use out of any on the market. It's remarkably lightweight, and whilst it doesn't have the same solid feel as a full metal beast like the Smart Stand, it has proved to be incredibly durable, with no degradation in performance in all that time. The price of it has gone up since I reviewed it, thanks again worldwide inflation, so it now sits at a street price of around $140 in the US, but I still thoroughly recommend it. What it doesn't have, however, is any of this fancy USB connectivity tech. Well, it didn't until Odyssey released the Hub Pro, or the Laptop Stand Pro Media Hub. Seriously, Odyssey, sort your naming out, please. The product takes the same hub as found on the Smart Stand and puts it into a box which is designed to hang on the back of the L-Stand Ultra 360. They do suggest in their marketing that you could use it with other stands too, like the old school sheet metal ones, but it didn't fit on any of the other stands in my collection as they don't have that crossbar. It's locked on fairly loosely with small plastic screws, but in use gravity takes care of keeping it nicely in place. What I really like is how the design doesn't interfere with any of the functions of the stand itself. You can go through all of the set tilt angles, raise and lower the stand, everything just works as it did before. As I said, it's the same hub as on the Smart Stand, so I have nothing to add about the digital performance. It works in an identical way. One thing I will note though is that having the cables come out of the top of the hub instead of the side kind of looks a bit tidier. All of the cable mess is tucked away under the laptop. It is more fiddly to connect everything to though, so there's no clear winner. My favourite aspect of the L-Stand Ultra 360 was always its lightweight, and I'm happy to report that with the Hub Pro attached, even though that's made of steel, the combo still comes in at 2 pounds and 14 ounces, almost 1.5 pounds lighter than the Smart Stand. There are only 2 downsides to the Hub Pro. Firstly, as far as I can tell, it's only available in white. As my 360 stand is black, I'd have preferred a black hub to match. And secondly, the price. With a street price of $140 in the US, that's a lot of money for a USB hub. On Amazon, the most you'll pay for a similarly spec'd hub is about $60, and many are available for a lot less. So I think buying the stand and hub together is going to be prohibitively expensive for many at $280, and I'd love to see Odyssey offer a package deal of the stand and hub for a lower price. But in general, I think the Hub Pro is fantastic. It takes my favourite laptop stand and adds digital connectivity to it without compromising its performance in any way. And so if you already own an L-Stand Ultra 360 and want to bring it into the digital world, then the Hub Pro is a superb addition. So there you go, my thoughts on the latest in laptop stand tech from Odyssey USA. Firstly, the Smart Stand Pro. It's a very clean, integrated solution. The hub is built right into the body of the stand itself, so it's always there ready to use. You're never going to leave it behind or anything like that. The overall design is quite industrial, it's quite chunky, but I know that appeals to a lot of DJs, and it does feel very, very solid, and it has great adjustment potential as well. So that one, definitely recommended. But I've got to be honest, my favorite stand on the market since I reviewed it 2.5 years ago has been the L-Stand 360. I love that thing. It's so lightweight, so portable, and yet has been really, really durable. There's been no issues with any of the plastic parts in all that time. The thing is still absolutely kicking. So for me, the addition of the Smart Hub onto the rear of that, whilst not being as clean as having a fully integrated unit, brings me that connectivity that I want, and it's now attached to my favorite laptop stand. So yeah, that one still an absolute winner for me, with that Smart Hub on the back even more so. Either of these though, you really can't go wrong. Odyssey have a reputation for solid, reliable products, and these both live up to that reputation absolutely. In the comments this week, tell us about your favorite laptop stands. Firstly, in the DJ booth, what do you use there? Have you got an old favorite? Have you picked up something recently that you're really enjoying? If so, please tell us all about it. And also, I'd be fascinated to hear about what you use when you're at home. Maybe Twitch streaming or doing track prep and things like that. Are you just putting then your computer on the desk? Are you using a riser, or are you using a specific stand? Sound off in the comments below and let us know. Thank you for watching this episode of Beatsource Tech. I do hope you've enjoyed it or found it useful. If you have, please give the video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos. I'll see you next time.